Hello there, this is the second video looking at the 11T static site generator from the perspective of WordPress users. In the first episode, we built a simple site from scratch, and in this, we're looking at 11T starter sites and some of the more advanced features. David has begun rebuilding the show site using the 11T base blog and can share this experience of it as well. And we'll also talk a little bit about using 11T as a static front end to WordPress. So I mentioned David. There he is. How are you doing, David? You all right?
Yeah, I'm really good. We got a lot to cover with this. I probably, and I'm nervous again because it's kind of out of my depth with this stuff. And
we will forgive you.
It's a bit of live stuff going on again. So yeah. So should we bring up our show notes?
Yeah, let's put the bits and pieces on the screen. There we go. So
we're actually using here, started working on, which the place for our new site. So it's on my local host at the moment. So I'm using that for the notes, and it's coming from the base blog, which we've mentioned over here. So I've done a little bit of styling on it, but not much already. So I think probably the first thing just to note for anybody who is coming from WordPress like us is that, 11T does have something similar to WordPress themes in that they call these kind of starter sites, and it also has plugins as well. But it's kind of different. I mean, it hasn't had 20 years of arguing over what a theme or a plugin should do. But but they are quite different on that. So let's quickly talk about where you might be able to get one of these themes, because that was the first thing I thought. We'll use a starter theme to get us going, and effectively I sort of ruled it out and then came back to the idea of using the base blog. So let's talk about other themes that are around. I wanted to mention this one. I'll bring this up, which is the 11T bundle, because honestly, I wouldn't have got as far as I have if it wasn't thanks to, and I'll bring his site up as well, Bob Monsur. I think that's how you say his name, but he does this great job. He's got great articles himself, so he's definitely somebody to follow if you're into 11T. But he does list his own sort of chosen kind of updated list of other things here. And what's nice about it is you can see which version of 11T it's using on this. But also I just wanted to mention, because it's got this fire hose here, which has pretty much all the articles that are going on about 11T, and there's about one a day on these. So definitely worth taking a look at that. And out of interest, actually, the ones that I considered really suitable for our show, if we were using a starter site, were the ones that are first listed here. So 11T base blog, 11T excellence, and Alva here as well. So that was good. Also, another place which I discovered, which doesn't have much on it, is this place, Jamstack Themes. So you can look at the 11T ones here. We've got Astro, which is more popular. Not many. There's only 19 listed, but Astro is very popular at the moment. It only has 18, so I'm not sure how updated that is. So you get a screenshot of this and where to go from GitHub to get it, and a demo, whether one's available. And finally, the last place, and probably the first place for most people to look, would be the 11T site itself, where it has the starter projects here. And this has got a nice feature, as you can see over here. It's got
it's like a
pace speed scores.
Right.
Yeah. So they've got a wonderful thing on here, the leaderboard, where it's actually taking the live data of real users using these themes and stuff. So you can actually see who's doing well. So you can put your site on it actually and have it judged to see how it's doing.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's quite a cool little thing. But I mean, there's something like 90 to 100 or something of these starter themes which are available here. One that I was looking at before, you can see this here. But you may notice that most of them look pretty plain.
Yeah, certainly the little thumbnail there does in many cases look quite plain, but not always. It seems text heavy, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And I think really, if you were someone coming as a non-coder, I mean, non-coders do certainly use starter sites. They don't need to know HTML very well or CSS, and they can get started if they stick with it. But generally, I would think that it's mostly the audience it attracts are people who are into HTML and CSS and will want to build their own. So you'll do your own styling on top of this.
Right.
So I think, really, that's what I put as note here, is that I would say they're typically played, so you can add your own CSS. But the other thing is, there is an exception here. There's quite a few exceptions, I guess, to all of that, as there always is. Let me just bring this one up. So you do get something to contradict that, something which is fully fledged, something.
Yeah, that looks like actually looks like a WordPress site, dare I say it.
Yeah, it does, and it's got all of these kind of cool things on it. But I think that's the exception to the rule with these kind of things where they're heavily styled. They're usually left to do, whatever you prefer. Some of them, though, what might be useful if you're somebody who uses Tailwind or something, some of them are integrated with that, or Bootstrap, or they're integrated with some of the JavaScript frameworks as well. But as mentioned, there was sort of three, I think, for us. The base blog, which I ended up deciding to use, and 11T Excellence, which you've seen before, because I said
I love
yes,
yeah.
it could have saved us a lot of time, I thought.
I don't know why I love that. I just do. I think it's lovely. Yeah.
Well, it's really well done. Lena Sayel, I think is her name, is a German developer who lives in Spain, and she does a lot of sort of 11T stuff, and really a very clever woman. And a lot of people, as you can see here, have used this site to build their own. She's sort of listed them out here. These are the people. Some of them are her own projects, but other people have used these. And in fact, I communicated to her because she was just releasing something new, and there was something that came up which I didn't understand, and she was quick to get back with me, and there's a new version of it. And why I like this, why I thought this was good for our needs, was the fact that, as we know, I'm a big fan of Cube CSS. She also is using that, talks about many of the things I do. She's got dark and light mode in this, which is something that I wanted to add. We're using YouTube embeds, using Paul Iris's light embeds. So you only load the thumbnail image rather than load all the stuff. That's all baked into all of this. And there's some really, she's got Pagination, which isn't in the base blog, which we're using at the moment. She's also got, let me just show you this because I think this is quite full. This open graph image is built into this. Where nice. What it does, basically what it does is it creates your open graph images that you need for it, because it prints out on a SVG that you put in, turns it into a JPEG, I think, or a P image, whatever it is, and prints out your data and whatever else you put in there. So you have these automatic created things, which we don't actually need.
No.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to use it for my own personal blog because I think it's fantastic. But anyway, I just wanted to spend.
But you decided against it for the no script show option. Okay.
Yes, and there was one other. I think I'll just quickly show it.
And again, I just love this. There's just something about the color. I think it's the color system of this one that I really like.
But it's so simple.
It's so nice. Yeah.
Again, we got light and dark on this. What was really nice, and I won't open it up, but it actually integrates with Front Matter CMS, which I showed in the last episode. Yeah, it's an extension, for VS Code, and so you can kind of get a CMS experience, if you like, in your VS Code thing. So that's it. But and it's got also multi-language.
Oh,
so
multi-language.
So you can do that. But anyway, we didn't do that. We decided to go with the base blog just to learn from all. I did because I wanted to learn from it. We've got to skim over so we can talk about that a little bit more. We did say we'll talk about using 11T as a static front end for WordPress, which is, headless. WordPress is the kind of been a popular thing, certainly. I won't go into too much detail here. I've put some articles. There's a couple by Andy Bell on this one, looking at it both ways, hooking 11T to WordPress and importing 11T content into WordPress. So going the other way.
Am I right in saying, though, that this is kind of like a bit of an endeavor that's run out of steam a bit?
I don't think so. There is, you see, let me just bring this on. This by Mike Pareggio. Am I
Okay,
saying it
yeah,
right?
we'll go with that. Arparicio, I'm going to say.
Oh,
Okay.
Mauricio. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, watched some videos he does. He does some really great content on design systems, and he's got a great article here as another one on this, where you can kind of set this up using this kind of fetch node, which will fetch all the posts from WordPress, and then you bring that into 11T. And to make this all work, as the client that I had in this particular case that he's talking about, they wanted that for pages and posts, and he brought it in and connected it up, and all the code is here. The thing is with both of these articles, and I don't know if it's down here where it shows you, I won't find it quickly, is both of them are using two different WordPress plugins, so that when the client updates and publishes,
Right.
that sends a communication to the hosting. One of them is actually just for Netlify to say rebuild 11T. So it will update the post there. The snag that I found with these is that these articles, I mean, they're later than when these plugins came in, but the two plugins that I mentioned by Dave Davis, who's got a very similar post on this, I looked them up and they've both not been updated for 4 years, and one of them has actually closed any contributions to their GitHub repository.
Right.
So I think this is not for somebody like you and I who haven't got these skills to be able to make sure that
Right. These people have maybe moved on, and maybe they just built it for a particular project that they had. Maybe they had to just migrate a massive site or something like that, and this was just the most effective way to do it. I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, you could do it, and if you got the skills, but I thought it was beyond us. But there is a nice little alternative, I think, which will just allow, and I'll do it. There's a video by Zach Leatherman, the author of 11T, who shows this, but I'll repeat it again just because it allow me to show how you might import a starter site from scratch as well. So we've got the 11T importer where you can bring in, it'll grab the WordPress posts from this. So we'll see if this works with this. So what I need to do first, let me get rid of some of this.
Yeah, get your palette clean.
Yeah,
This health all set up. So what? Just to be clear, you're going to use this importer tool. The link is in the NoScript show notes, and the endeavor is to import posts, I guess, pages as well. How does it work?
Yeah, well, posts on this one is what is set up for. The 11T importer, which I just quickly brought up, actually, I've got a link to it here.
Yeah,
she does other stuff here. So there is a nice little video that is done on this one, and I don't know if we can find it quickly here. It will do WordPress because that's the most popular thing. It will also bring in things from YouTube. It will also bring in things from it's more on migration here. There's another platform. What's the popular platform as an alternative to Twitter? Mastodon.
Oh, Mastodon. Okay, right.
So it can import stuff from that as well.
Okay,
so
that's interesting. Right.
Yeah. So let's see if we can go back here. Now what I need to do is when you go to any of these starter sites, so if I was to go to the base blog here, what we'll find is that you can just use this template. And generally what you might want to do is to then create a new repository for yourself on this. So I've already got that. So if I just go and click on me, go to my repositories, I've already brought this in, and I've got base blog over here.
Okay, right, got it. Yep.
So if I go into that, and I mentioned it last time we were talking, that it might be useful to have GitHub desktop.
Yes, you did. Yeah. Yeah.
So if we open that up, then what I can do is take this repository, which I've copied, and hopefully, there we are, we've come in. So it's, let's just check that it's going to where I want it to go. So it's coming from where I want, and it's going to local path temp. That's exactly where I want it to go.
Nice. So, there is a God.
Yes, there is. Whoa. Okay. And it's done, actually. And I'm going to open it up in Visual. I've got two of these open now, so we could have problems.
All right, no problem. We'll work with you. We'll figure it out.
I'll do away with that, and I should bring this up on this screen because you can't see it, and I shall just also increase the size because you can't see much. Can you?
That's fine. We've got lots now. We can definitely read that. That's lovely.
So we may, what we'll need to do first, probably go to the README document because, well, we've already made a clone of this one, and we've already set that up. But actually, because it hasn't included all the node stuff there, we're
Okay.
going to have to install all of that ourselves here. So bear with while I just bring up the terminal.
And you're going to npm install.
Oh, no, I'm not going to do
Not that one. Oh, this is your shortcode. Sorry, this is your text expander that you're using to generate the
yes, it is.
code. Yeah, you maybe
we
just
have
copy and paste in this case. Yeah, it's quite short.
there we are.
Go.
And now we've got a small bit of time. Actually, this will allow me, while it's just doing that, because it's got to load in all the nodes, I just wanted to mention something. Let me just bring this up. If you are using some of the starter sites, what might scare somebody new is seeing something like this, which is what I saw on Elva before. I think I also saw it on the 11T, is that
oh gosh, yeah, that looks terrifying.
Yeah. Yes, because it's a node which is no longer supported. And I mean, what you can, it gives you the information. You can just kind of run the npm audit fix and it will sort things out. And it's probably okay. And the author will do that. But I just thought it was worth throwing in that if you're coming to this for the first time, as I was, something like this is quite a scary thing to see if this is not kind of what you're used to doing.
Press on regardless. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So you do get something there. Anyway, we should have copied all of ours.
Yeah. Still watching. Bit more time to kill here, David. What else can we?
No. It's done. It's the wrong one. I've got it open twice. So it's that. And now we can run the 11TL, and I'll do that with my short key. And we should have that now.
There we go.
Yeah.
80, 80.
There we are. So there we go. I increase the size. So now what we can do here, just to show, so that's basically installed in it, and then you can work from there. So it's not too big a job to start from the starter site, get it on your local.
Once you know what you're doing there, which you clearly now do, I think that was a 2-minute enterprise for you, without all the talking and everything that you had to do. That's probably a couple of minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And come back, and it's all good to go. So this is which starter site is this?
This is the base blog, except the only thing is I've increased the font size on it. Okay, on that. So now what I wanted to do was just show the importer working, because that was quite cool. So if I just get rid of this again, and we'll go back here, and I've got the I need to put in already typed out, because
you're prepared. You're a good YouTuber, David. You've got yourself ready.
So what I've just pasted in here, this is all we need. It's something telling that we're going to import WordPress to this particular address that we've got here. And what we want to do is to output this content output it into the content and into the blog section. So one thing that we do need to know if we're using one of the starter themes is where we want that stuff to go. And in this case, with the base blog, it's in content, and then our posts go in here. So we want that to be the same. And then we could do a dry run. We can decide where we want to locate the assets. But in this case, the assets want to set to co-locate. So effectively what this should do is it should put them in a folder with the posts themselves. So the images that go with it. So let me just run this, and let's just see if it works. And we should, it's asking me now because I haven't got the import package in there. So I'm just going to say, yes, I want that. And it's going to do that.
Do that as well. The beauty
you probably only need to do. Yes, it's because I've opened up a new one. And what we're seeing here is it's fetching the different JSON files. So this is using the WordPress REST API to drag it in these posts. And I know there's one error on this. And what we should see over here is in our blog, we have our posts, and we should see that with these, they put the assets, co-located them.
Right, that was the co-locate thing. Okay, got it.
And if I can find the right tab, I will just show you.
Now, there we go. I was just going to say we're looking at a very pink screen there, but we're back. We can now see your browser.
Should be back. Let's see if I'm on the right one.
Fingers crossed. It was definitely 8082, port 8082.
So why
is there some caching going on? Probably.
This is the problem when you're doing this. Browser caching is always what I'll do off screen. You can't see this. I shall just run this again.
When you say
Um,
run this again, are you going to
I'm just
restart
yes, I am.
11T?
And
Right.
let's just see if that shakes it up. There we are.
So
We've got our
there.
post. Yeah. So we've got so all being well, yeah, it's brought in the assets. Now, something to just notice, there are a few little things that you get. So if you've got, as I have in this case, it was built with a page builder, and I'm using form of that kind of, all of these had a video on the top there, which was hidden behind this kind of code that I put. So it didn't manage to pick up on that, but otherwise the images and everything. So
Right.
set that up, that would work.
So you did something quirky in WordPress, which 11T, the importer there, it just was on, it was
unable to,
okay.
is unable to understand what complexities were going on there. Otherwise, it would pick in the JavaScript that was needed, but I mean, it was done in such a convoluted way, so it was missing on that. But it does this. I read somebody said they had an 8,000 article blog, and it took 11T with the importer 2 minutes to bring all of that data over.
Yeah, to the human mind, 8,000 sounds like a lot, but to a machine just parsing text, it's just like, bring it on. That's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, right, that bit's done. I'm going to get rid of this.
Okay, well, that was successful. That was a really nice example of how to do it. So you've managed to import in a matter of moments an entire WordPress site.
Yes. Well, the other thing that you might just be interested in, if I go to the site that was, because this is the first thing I thought, it's the REST API. So if I actually go to the site, it was importing. It's actually blocked off. I've got a maintenance mode on it. I've got everything set. So
it's invisible to the human reader, but the REST API just shuttles you through all of that. Okay, great.
So if I just gave a client a login to this, it would be fine. And because, of course, it's taking the post data, it's turning that into Markdown.
Yep.
So if you had a lot of junk code, which I did on that, it cleans it up, really. It just takes...
Oh, that's nice too. That's an unexpected benefit. Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So got a lot cleaner for moving that over. Okay, let's go back to our notes.
Our article. Right. Where are we now then? Yeah. So we've done the importer.
We have. We've done how to download a starter site and get started with that. I think, we were talking about this earlier. I think we share the same conclusion that maybe because of the technical complexities and maintenance with headless and the growth of, sort of static CMS is going around, I think it's probably not something you'll either go one way or the other, won't you? But I think with it, I think there'll be less headless solutions.
Yeah, it feels like 3, 4, 5 years ago, headless was a real buzzword. It was really kind of an interesting thing. I imagine probably at enterprise it still might be, but it doesn't feel like, your normal freelancer working in the, let's say, WordPress space is going to be too interested because there's just so many moving parts that could go wrong. And I'm not sure that the benefits outweigh the hassle unless you really are truly an expert and this is all absolute muscle memory. And I've not really heard anybody talking about headless much in the WordPress space of late. So maybe it's kind of run its course.
I never got it at the time because I just thought, well, I've not had security issues because I look after and caching gives me
caching is the sort of the golden bullet there, isn't it? A little bit, yeah.
So there was that. Should we talk about what we've been doing here as we are using this local version where we're trying to recreate using the 11T blog? And the reason
when you say what we're doing here, do you mean what we're looking at on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right.
So style-wise, we're not there. We haven't put the logos in here, but we have taken the 11T blog, which is, and I've added in the things that might have taken me to another theme to this and taken away some things as well from it. And I did it really because I thought I wanted to know how complex it would be for someone like me to take a starter site. Would it be the same problem you can have in WordPress where I've done it, where you want to reconfigure some parts of a theme that you've already got?
Yep.
And there's just too much to wade through. And there's an element of that as well, but I found it very useful because I've been able to learn because the base blog is the one that Zach Lederman looks after and created. So it's probably the best person to learn from if you're going to get into starter sites. and it was perfect to a certain degree for what we needed. The only thing we didn't have is I wanted the light and dark on this. And we also needed, which I was mentioning before, if I go back to, let's just go into the archive here and go into our last thing. We wanted to have this thing here. I won't click on it now, but it's just loading the image and looks like it's the video. It's not loading the stuff.
Right.
So obviously,
there's some wizardry going on where it will load the video when you click on that image, that thing that looks like a video. Okay.
Exactly. So we're using Paul Iris's light embed, which will just serve up and hold back YouTube from all of its JavaScript and just serve up the image for a quick thing. Now, interestingly enough, there is anyway a web component that elements built, which is based on the same thing. But I haven't used that. I've just put it in because I know how to do that myself.
Okay.
And did that. What else did I need to add in here? There was one other thing that doesn't come with the 11T base blog, which we needed really, I think. And I can just demonstrate it here.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is the pagination on the archive pages.
So what does it do? Does it just try to load everything all in one go if there's no pagination?
Yeah, so on the original blog that you get, it just, it's just the text that it gives you to start with it. It's a starter site. So, it can almost go on endlessly then, because, the browsers will be able to cope with all of that kind of information. But if you want to sort of section it out like this, it seemed nice to add this in. So that was quite an adventure for me. AI helped me, though. Interesting.
So it wasn't straightforward. There isn't like something built into the base blog that you can just declare something. You had to go out and find the way to build it.
Yeah, well, there is pagination is something that you can easily add with 11T.
Okay.
The way that I needed to add it in this particular case with the base blog, which I'll maybe touch on in a moment.
Okay, yeah, sure.
A bit more complex. But the beauty is, this is a real tip if anyone wants to kind of do this. What I discovered is that AI, certainly Claude, and I was trying DeepSeek at the time, so I was asking them both questions where I got stuck with the base blog, and it struggled as well. But when I said I'm using the base blog, it goes, this is what you need. It's configured this way.
Interesting. Okay.
So it shows the documentation's really good for the 11T stuff, because it was able to tell you exactly what it did. So so it sorted me out. So that's just the basic stuff that I made some changes. Obviously, we need some styling. We sorted this sort of stuff out. But shall I bring up? I think we'll bring up the code editor for this. If I closed it.
Yeah, it was fairly straightforward for me as somebody watching what you were doing to figure out what you'd done. But I imagine it was a bit of a bed of worms to actually do it the first time.
Yes, it was. So we got a whole bunch of. So this is one of the things I think, with a starter site like this for me was the fact that the downside of it all is the fact that you really do need to understand how things are being configured in something like this, because there's a lot of great sort of things that be set up. Some of them I've commented out, which is the images. I won't go into this, but it has a wonderful image plugin where if you upload into an image, it will, you can set it to do almost anything. But it will, it will turn, if it's a heavy SVG, it will turn it into whatever the smallest thing is, an AVIF or something like that. It will add in the sizes. It will create a picture tag if it needs to serve AVIF and then a backup of a WebP or a backup of a JPEG for those browsers that don't support it. It will do this all automatically. I pulled it out only because of the build time with it, because, this would be perfect if you're a CMS person and you've got a client coming in and dragging in any kind of image. It will take care of all of that trouble for you. But that's not us. And we're not using many images. In fact, we're using what comes from YouTube, our thumbnail.
So you just did it expediency, given your situation where not many images, and the ones that you're using, you've probably got the right format and optimized them anyway.
Exactly. So I thought,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, I ran a test on it earlier. There's one of the things that we put in as a little diagram, and, it on the defaults, it just set me with different versions in a picture tag. And the smallest was the AVIS, so something like 9 kilobytes. And I just thought, our audience, if I needed that again, I would just put it in without the picture tag as an AVIF, because it would need different sizes, so small anyway. So I thought that's generally the way we go. So I took that out.
Okay.
But there are some really cool things. And let me mention first where I got stuck, and AI helped me. So if I go into the contents,
Are we still on pagination, right? We're still on that.
I was going to talk about pagination. Yes, exactly. So it had it on the post. So you've got a next post and a before post. That's automatically in the base blog, but I didn't have it on the archive pages. And I created my own additional pages. So with the example of sort of chat here, what you discover is it uses another plugin called the Eleventy navigation, which allows you to really construct some, if you wanted a mega menu or something like this, allow you to organize things a lot better because you can put them under subcategories. But because it does that, and this is something I think I sort of mentioned gray matter as something that happens. This isn't gray matter. This is an Eleventy thing where you can use JavaScript in your front matter area on this. So suddenly everything I'm doing in my template now, because I've got the navigation now, has to be turned into something which is in a JavaScript format.
Yeah,
which is where it goes beyond me. But luckily I was able to add the pagination simply by asking one of the AIs, I'm using the base blog, I want to do this. and it just churned this out for me, which is using the standard code, which you'll see anyway in the documentation, but it just put it in the right syntax or format for the matter area.
Just looking at that and not knowing what I'm talking about, it looks like it's going, so reverse true is newest to oldest, I'm guessing. The alias is almost like a custom post type. We're looking for the posts. The size 6 is how many to show before you need to click the pagination. So there's 6 on a page, and then there'll be 6 more on a page and 6 more. And data collections podcast, I don't even know what that is. Not a clue.
That's because that's what I've named this particular collection. So it's on the page, which we've now called chat at the moment. Where this is why it's not up at all, because we're still sort out some of the naming conventions. We called it podcast, and maybe we'll call it chat. I'll reconfigure this. But the beauty of it is, and it's the same with the tagging system of the base blog, is that it's automated for you. So when I need a new page, this is automatically going
it's not going to figure it all out for you.
And it's going to, because of the Eleventy, it's going to put the previous and the next, and everything can create that. And we can change what we call that over here. So we've got that all built in. So, and it's the same with the tagging system as well. This is built into the base blog. If I create a new tag on one of my posts, it's going to do it. But that was just one of the little gotchas that I got into with that.
In some respects, I'm kind of surprised that isn't built into the base of Eleventy. But then again, you might not want some sort of archive of anything. You might just want a 5-page website with just, the navigation in the top right of the desktop version. So it makes sense not to have it in if you're trying to keep things lean.
I think maybe, pagination does seem like something for the base blog because it is designing for blogs, but also we've gone down a different route slightly with this, in the sense that you would generally have a blog and then you would have tags. So I've kind of used the tags.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it. Yeah.
We can still, if I go back into any of these, it doesn't matter which one, you'll see I've got a tagging system, but it's also running into the tags. It's automatically creating. So any new tags that I put in my front matter will get a new tag separate to the ones that I've created for ourselves and looped here.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Okay, so it is a different taxonomy structure than what I'm used to in WordPress, which obviously just handles all this out the box. There's other ways of doing things in Eleventy with tagging. Okay, all right.
Yeah, well, it's pretty simple. Let's just go into the blog. One nice thing is that it's set up so contents is the area, so anything in there can get changed, and all the posts are in here. And I didn't know I could do this, but it's set up to recognize anything in here. So I could put a folder in without messing things up and organize our posts over here. So a nice thing to do. And if I go over to, let's just go into the one we're looking at the moment, we'll do. This is what I'm doing now. Is I'm able to. It's something I didn't mention last time round, so I put a little note. Because when I was, if you met, I was creating our simple site, and just to give you an introduction to the idea of collections and how you might create posts, I didn't explain the fact that my post names didn't match what my URL was.
Okay.
So and this is how you do it basically. So it'll pick up on this.
Slugify.
Slugify.
Yeah.
So I'm telling it to go into the permalink of build and this, and I'll just add to it. I've created a tag here. I could create many more, and it will automatically create those tags for me. So if we decide that there's some crossover between the things that we're doing in our categories or there's other ones, I can put them in and they will just tag and create the pages we need. And the beauty is with the video ID, that's how I've connected it up with the Paul Iris's Light YouTube embed and bringing forward those images. I've now been able to put that so it goes in the metadata. So if as an open graph image, it can be used on the front page to automatically do it. And it's outputting as well to the individual posts. So
nice. Got it. Right.
Yeah. And there's another nice thing as well in there that you can do drafts as well. So if you put this as, I mean, I've commented that out at the moment, but if I set this to draft true, I can still do a build to the hosting, work on this. It's not going to show it until I either remove this or set it to false. So
Okay.
It's not going to, so it's going to ignore it. So you can kind of work on that.
Pending status, but there it is, ready to roll. You just delete that draft.
Yeah, I'll just delete that out. And then the next time I do an update to,
got it.
As I would do to, it's going to do that. So that's it. Let me go back to the notes, actually. I need to go back here. What didn't we cover? Any questions that you've got? So
no, all of it seems, straightforward isn't the word because it's all very new to me and it would probably upend me if I tried to do it myself. But no, that all makes sense.
I mean, the syntax highlighting is quite a nice thing that we wanted to put in, which came in there. If I just go into one of the learns over here and go into light and dark toggle here, it's got this wonderful way of, it's using somebody else's library, another 11T user.
So this is what we're looking at there, the code example that you're looking at. If you would type that in as Markdown, it would just look like any old text. There's a sort of plugin, if you like, and that enables you to encapsulate that portion as show me this as code instead. And then it'll, with a bit of CSS, it'll put it in a darker box and it will make it will format CSS so that the bits and pieces which you want to be in different colors are in different colors.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, let me just go over here. If I go to one of the learn examples, and let's make sure I've got one with a bit of code in it. I'm sure there is somewhere. I'll probably pick the one.
There's a bit of HTML there by the looks of it.
There's a bit of HTML. So we have these 3 backticks, and then you put the language that you want it to do that with and put this in. So it's going to be there. And that's the format with this. And we've got some CSS here. 3 backticks. We close them with backticks as well. And then we just put CSS, and then it's going to display that. And what's happening behind the scenes, which allows me to just talk about something else. I'm going off at tangents, but the CSS. So last time we did a video, we talked about the CSS, and I bundled it all up using a Nunjux file and included all of the different CSS style sheets that I had into that one. Now, I tried to do something similar, but I got into a mess, and I just decided to use what's already set up in the 11T base blog, which I think is pretty cool. If I just go into, let me just open this up on the, let's go into our includes, into our layout and into the base.
Okay.
It does it all in the template here. And you have this kind of, there's lots of stuff, and I'll probably have to stop because it will get too boring soon. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on in here. So there's another bit of a sort of plugin, if you like, which allows you to sort of get a bundle by the URL here. And you can specify it CSS, and then you can put this in here, what you want to include. It's going to send it all to one location, which is set up into another folder called the distribution, the dist folder, and it puts it all together in that way, which is a slightly different way. But the nice thing about this is that you can also, if you wanted to have that as inline CSS on your page, you can just
you
print
can
out
use
within the
that.
style sheet.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so it also means, as it is used as well on the base blog, naturally, it's actually printed inline. I've changed this now, so it puts it in the style sheet. But it does allow you, say, the syntax highlighting, which you were talking about,
Yeah.
is one of the things that's brought in. And in fact, then we're just putting that on the post. I think you might be showing here that.
Right. So if there's so for example, on a post, there's a high probability that you want syntax highlighting for CSS, HTML, etc. And if you're doing it, if you're injecting that inline only when it's needed, in this case, in a post, because there's a high probability that a post will have that. But you could do it on a page by page basis or a post by post basis, and yet the CSS file is stored in the same place in that little bundle. That's quite clever, actually. I like that.
Yeah, well, it's putting the distribution, and then so in this case, it's been automatically set up. So in fact, it's pulling in that theme is what's giving me the coloring for the syntax highlighting.
Yeah.
And actually, there's another one in there which I've left as it is there, which just is the difference, the changes made to the original. But it's actually can pull these things in from the node modules themselves, rather than what you've got there. So quite cool stuff. Yeah, let me.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you want to just quickly nip back to your show notes? Because there was a few things on that page. It was the one before, and then scroll down. What have we looked at? Where's it gone? Yeah, so you've mentioned syntax just now. So I'm looking underneath the pros, the first bullet point there, pre-configure 11 plugins. So the base theme comes with something to do with RSS. You mentioned image transformation, so you can throw an image in, like an SVG, and it will turn it into an AVIF, and you can configure all of that. Navigation enables you to do more complicated navigation. Syntax we've just seen. Highlighting, ID attribute, and HTML base. They're part of it. I don't know what they are, but do you want to touch those?
You can kind of see it here, although I might take it away. What it's doing is when it's seeing, because it's a good thing for accessibility, and if you be able to link to headers, what this is doing automatically with the ID attribute, it's a kind of, is it a plugin? I'm not quite sure, but it's included, and I can remove it with one line. But basically, where we see this, if we go into the source code, it's giving us an ID against this header as well. So if I look there, we got the it gives me an ID as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of it just being an H3, it's H3 whatever, an ID of whatever the H3 is. So in this case, the comms. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So I guess the only issue you might have is if you have the same title on the set, but you shouldn't really ever have that, should you?
No.
On the same page, that's the only problem with an ID there.
Okay.
But it's quite a nice thing, a little accessibility thing, or a way to be able to link to a part of your article if you're linking someone else to it. Built in, you don't have to do anything; it's automated. There was actually, and I needed to use this a lot, and it's even for building a simple site first time around. I didn't really touch on the conditionals, else, if, all the time. And that's a really easy thing to do with the nunchucks on my desk. I have to now quickly think on my feet where there's an example of where I've done this. I think I've done it in the base blog where I wanted to, in the base nunchucks. Let me just have a look here.
So is this like an inline thing we're looking for? Are we looking for some inline conditional logic of if this, I can't see anything.
No, you can't, can you? Because I've forgotten where I might have put it. Let me just have a look.
Keep looking. On, we're fine. I don't know the way it'll look, but I'm keen. Something hopefully. Okay. Oh, there was an end if there, right at the bottom. What was that? End if.
That was one of them. Yes. Let's have a look. Where are we starting?
You had an end. You had an if right much further up. Oh no, if collections post.
Yes. So I think it's not the one I wanted to.
Further down near the bottom of the screen, right near the bottom, is an if collections dot posts, and then obviously there's an end if. So you've got an if within an if here by the look. Oh no, you don't. You've just got.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I've got to on this one because you've got. I can't remember what I've done, but anyway, all I wanted to highlight before I get stuck on what I've done here. I think there is my example. This is a perfect example. So what I wanted to, when I didn't have, as you could see actually on the post that we're looking at, I don't have a video ID for the thumbnail for the YouTube video because it hasn't come up yet. So what I've done is to say, only if my front matter gives me an ID, will you print out what you need to.
Oh, and I
Otherwise, leave it
noticed that
blank.
was in the front matter, that portion of text right at the top of the post. You had I think it said YouTube ID or something, and there was like the 10 characters of the slug of the URL.
Yes,
the
but it was
YouTube. Yeah.
it was commented out as well. So that's why it's not, because otherwise
Okay.
it would take up the space of
Right. Let me
YouTube.
understand this then. If that wasn't commented out and it was, so if you'd got a YouTube ID in the
Yes.
post and it
Yes.
wasn't commented out, so it did exist, that if would say, does it exist? Yes. Okay. Now append it to the end of the YouTube URL and display it. So not only is it doing the job of whether or not to display, but it's also using the same, yeah, there it is, video ID. It's using that to declare whether it should display or not, but also appending it to the URL. Yeah.
So if I leave this and I leave it blank or something, if I take this off, so it's there, but you see, we needed a conditional to show, because what's going to happen now if I refresh, all being well, it's not, is it?
You might need to clear some caches or rebuild the whole thing. The vagaries.
I just need to rebuild it.
Yeah.
But
I trust you. I'm sure it'll work.
yes, otherwise, without that conditional, it would be showing, it would be trying to show well, in fact, actually, I've hidden the header 1 and I use the image to replace it. So generally that's the case.
I get it though. That made sense. I mean, the syntax of it and all is new to me, but I see what it's doing. That's good.
Yeah, it was worth mentioning that you could do, because it was, you'd want that on simple things. And also something I didn't mention as well last time was the fact that there is these web components. So in 11T, and I skipped over it, there is something called WebC, which is Zach Leatherman's own language for using web components. And in fact, it's a web component which is creating, it's sort of put around the main tag, which is creating these IDs combined with the other JavaScript that it has there. So that's another part of 11.2, which I really haven't got into, but it's another option for how you might put together your sites with using web components.
What I'm learning though is depending on, the intention of WordPress was never really to put functionality in the theme, but that kind of did end up happening. But in the theme, usually in the customizer, you can switch things on or off, like show the author, show the metadata for when it was published and what have you. And what I'm seeing is something akin to that here. You've got these plugins built inside of a theme, in this case, the base theme, that you can switch on, switch off, configure how you like, but obviously it's much more like hands into the code and figuring all that out. But they enable you to add components to your website, your pages, your posts, add if statements around them, so they show or don't show depending on certain conditions. And so you've got this framework for building based upon the exact same data. You can have a different array of things happening on the pages with these plugins. So I'm beginning to get it a bit, I think.
Yeah, it's I mean, most of the time, that's the downside with the starter thing, because when you start to remove things, you really need to know how the directories are being set up or what plugins. But I mean, I'm probably not entirely there, but I think I've now learned what's there. But you're calling in, as you see, these are kind of plugins are called in at the top here, import kind of plugins.
Oh, there's the RSS one and navigation. Yeah, okay.
And it's wonderful. And there's filters, we've got some other things that are all built into it. So there is a bit of doing this, but I was surprised how far I've got and how confident I feel. And it's a little bit, what's saying about that, there's a couple of points where I'm really got excited about WordPress at the time. One of them was when I first started doing my own themes, and that feels a lot like that. And then the other time was when CSS got really difficult and I've discovered page builders. So I've got like this kind of, it feels like going back to some old days where very powerful, helped a little bit with AI, but it does mean with no JavaScript skills, I've been able to do some quite complex stuff already.
Nice.
Conditionals. Yeah. So I enjoyed it.
How are we doing with the show notes there? Have we got through what you wanted to say?
I think
Felt
so. I
like
mean,
we had, maybe.
yeah, I think so. There was a couple of things I just wanted to cover. I think I thanked who I wanted. There's more to show you on this. Maybe I'll just do a short video if there's something that's missed out on this
Okay.
that I think might be useful. But otherwise, I think we probably, well, we've done our best to try and cover what this
Yeah,
is about.
that looks good. So the endeavor there was to show what a theme can do. In this case, the base theme inside of 11T, but there were loads of options, dozens and dozens of options. Some more minimal, looks like some less minimal. And David showed you where you can get those. As with everything, the bits and pieces, the links that you just saw, will be available for your delectation. Over on the noscript.show
Yeah,
11T based
yeah.
website at some point in the year 2026.
But there'll be a link to wherever you can get the notes in the YouTube. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Thank you. So look in the description of the YouTube video and go from there, basically. Yeah. Okay. Is that it? Are we wrapping that up?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, it was really interesting. Honestly, the more you talk about it, the more convinced I am that I should give it a go. If only I had 50 hours available to me.
Exactly. It does take some time.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you next time, David. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Cheers.
Bye. Bye.